A young girl is picking up groceries in a shopping basket while talking on the phone with your friend. Suddenly, a reanimated corpse appears in front of her. The girl defends herself, but the lights go out and another zombie attacks her from this terrifying dream. Kieren hears the voice of a doctor who brings him good news. His brain is recovering and responding to medication despite suffering from partial death syndrome. After completing his treatment, Kieren has regained his sanity and can now return to his hometown of Rochan as part of a home care program. Along with others like him, he will be reunited with his parents and is given colored lenses for his eyes and a special camouflaging gel for his skin pigment so that he can look natural. Meanwhile, Kieren's parents informed their daughter Jemima about her brother's return, but she reacts very explosively and runs away from home. The couple goes to find their son, who at this moment is confessing to Other Rising. About his wrongdoings during his partial death, state Kieren still struggles with the fact that he too lives. However, he smiles when he remembers his younger sister, whom he can't wait to see again. At the same time, Jemima arrives at the bar, where members of the local volunteer people's militia, who actively participated in the eradication of zombies during the Rising of the Dead, a gathering. The people are very hostile and intend to continue fighting the reanimated corpses despite the government's assurances of their safety if they constantly take this specially developed medicine at night. Kieren has another dream where he attacks a girl in a store, but in the morning he gets himself together and goes to meet his parents. His mother and father are shocked by his appearance but cry with happiness at seeing their son. The chaperone expresses his doubts as Roatan suffered the most during the Rising of the Dead event, but the parents convince him that the townspeople are reacting calmly to the Risen, which is not true. And just at that time, the town vicar gives a speech about intolerance towards the sick and the residents. Boo, the politician, trying to call for tolerance among the townspeople on the way. The father tries to cheer up his son and tells him about the television and movie discs he has acquired for him, but at the entrance they see a crowd of the townspeople and order their son to hide in the back seat. Kieren hides, not understanding what danger is threatening him. The parents hastily drive home, where they bring the boy out, covering him with clothes from the curious eyes of the neighbors. Later, a local nurse comes to the house who now has to watch over the survivors and give them injections of the drug that allows them to remain conscious. The woman reminds them to use pigment mousse for their skin and contact lenses, without which it is not safe to be seen in public, and for the mother she leaves a stun gun as the disease can return, and then Kieren will become dangerous. At that time, the vicar recruits the nurse's son. Philip, asking about his mother's activities and demanding that he learn about all the Reason who have returned to the district, and Kieren's parents sit down for a festive dinner to celebrate their son's return. But he no longer needs food, and his mother asks him to pretend to eat his favorite dishes. At that moment, Jemima arrives but refuses to sit at the table. When she sees Kieren upset, Kieren leaves for his room and pulls out memorabilia letters and photos. Meanwhile, the parents of Kieren's friend Rick look at a similar photo of a young man. It would have been his birthday today, but he died in the war in Afghanistan. At the same time, Philip tries to open his mother's laptop to find a list of the Risen, but his mother catches him and he gives up his intention. Kieren suffers from memories of his actions when Jemima tries to figure out if he remains the same kind and sensitive guy. His brother tells you things that only they knew. The girl cries from overwhelming emotions. It turns out that Kieren killed himself when he learned about the death of his best friend and love partner Rick, who was forced to join the army after his father Macy found out about their relationship. And Jemima cannot forgive her brother for not thinking about the family that same evening. The head of the local militia, Bill Macy, Rick's father, learns from the vicar about the appearance of a risen person in the town. He gathers the militia and announces his intention over the radio hearing. This, Jemima rushes to warn her parents and brother. They hide Kieren, and the parents arm themselves with whatever they can. But it turns out that the militants arrived at the house across the street where the elderly owner had returned, despite her husband's police Macy shoots. The partially dead woman Kieren is shaken by the violence, and for the first time Jemima begins to question the righteousness of her commander, who at that moment receives news that his son is partially alive and returning home. Kieren is increasingly introspective while his sister plays games where she destroys zombies. One day, Kieren tries to express his gratitude to her for warning him, but the girl refuses to speak to him, saying that she did it only for their parents. On another day, Kieren learns about an upcoming ceremony to honor those who died in the uprising, which his mother and sister plan to attend meanwhile. Son of their leader is a writer too, but they explain to her that this is a different case. Amy tells Kieren that she died of leukemia, and when she learns about his suicide, she pities him when Jemima returns and tells your brother about Rick's return, and he, accompanied by Amy, runs to the bar where Rick is talking about his service. Kieren and Amy enter the bar, causing astonishment among those present, are asked to go to a place specifically designated for them, but then Recon Kieren meet, and Macy's son is outraged by the situation. The patrons have to accept it. Meanwhile, one of the guards notice wild zombies, leaves Macy pack up his son's things and goes outside to cover up the graffiti, announcing the presence of a human suffering from the partial death syndrome in the house, while Jemima also packs up your weapons and anything reminding her of your service in the militia. Macy throws his son's bag of belongings, and the girl takes a box to the shed. Jemima listens to Rick's message on the answering machine and rushes off to find her brother. Rick's mother returns home, and her husband tells her that he hasn't seen their son in 5 years. Meanwhile, Kieren approaches his house and finds his friend's body with Macy's knife in his neck. He says goodbye to Rick and then takes out the knife and heads to Macy's house. The neighbor sees all of this. Kieren enters the house and accuses Macy of killing his own son, but Macy's sure that it was not the real Rick, and that the real one will come back next time. Rick's mother screams in horror, and while Kieren tries to calm her down, Macy goes to the yard where the neighbor is waiting for him with a gun. There's a gunshot, and Macy falls. Kieren goes to the cave where his mother finds him. She tells him about her unhappy love story and how her future husband helped her get through it. She talks about how they really felt when he left, and how his father couldn't talk to him because he never gave him the chance. Kieren goes home and asks his father for forgiveness, because he didn't think about the other people's feelings. The man tells him how he found him at the cave and carried him on the shoulders. The man cries and Kieren hugs him, and that's how the first season ends.